All you have to do is go on the internet, listen to one person, be in the energy field of someone that's in hustle, and it's so subtle and so sticky, and you're hooked again. Hooked into this belief that you have to take certain actions, that you have to do things a certain way. I've been in a lot of these conversations about new paradigm business, how we sell and have a brand and hold an energetic field, a frequency field that people come into that is not rooted in darkness. It's not rooted in manipulation. All right. Hello, hello. Gorgeous human being. Oh my goodness. So much is streaming through this morning. I actually am supposed to be at the gym right now, but I went and my favorite instructor wasn't there. And I've just got all of this streaming in today. So I'm going to try and organize it as well as I can. But I am so excited to share this with you. I will start by sharing something that I've been observing in myself. So I'm in Costa Rica now, which is absolutely amazing. It's so many things that I have always dreamed of: community, connection, family, dancing, gathering, the jungle, beautiful, healthy, organic food, surfing, nature, just like this incredible lifestyle. And I am also surrounded by so many amazing, talented people here, healers and mystics and different kinds of entrepreneurs. And so naturally, I've been in a lot of these conversations about kind of new paradigm business, how we can sell and have a brand and hold. It's really a field. It's an energetic field, a frequency field that people come into that is not rooted in darkness. It's not rooted in manipulation. It's not rooted in extraction in the way that a lot of old paradigm business is. And it's interesting because through these conversations, I have been tapping a lot more into the mind. And although I'm teaching these things through a highest good for all perspective, all of that time in the mind, I find that when I'm thinking a lot and I'm analyzing and I'm using my intellect and my ego is active and I'm just running all of these things through my mental constructs, I sort of get disconnected from my highest truth. And I've been really navigating this because I'm in a season where I can recognize I have really deeply committed to my spiritual path, and I continue to be devoted to my spiritual path. But I've had my time of being the hermit on the mountain and being away from the world. And I found, I don't know what to call it, maybe some level of clarity, of truth. I found something. I found some essence, this connection that has radically changed my life and has changed my business. And I can see the impact that it's had on the people in my world, inside my inner circle, Lux, and the people that are closest to me. This thing that's flowing through me when I allow myself to be the conduit for it that is so powerful, so magical, and so real. And I'm so aware of that. And if I'm connected to it and if I'm not. And then I'm also very aware of my material world, especially now that I'm physically healing in Costa Rica. I was dealing with a lot of health issues when I was in Canada, which is one of the reasons that I moved. My body is physically healing. I'm sleeping through the night. I wake up with energy, which I feel like I haven't really experienced that for a number of years, which is so amazing. And I'm so grateful. But because of this newfound vitality and all of these conversations that I'm having about business and running them through the mind, and also really looking at my own business and what's next and where am I going and how do I grow, it's so easy. It's so easy. All you have to do is go on the internet, listen to one person, be in the energy field of someone that's in hustle energy, and it's so subtle and so sticky, and you're hooked again. Hooked into this belief that you have to take certain actions, that you have to do things a certain way, that you have to not manipulate people, because hopefully we're way beyond that, but manipulate reality. That's the next level of awareness, is where we're trying to manipulate reality in order to get some, rather than allowing the essence of our being to be transmitted through who we are and what we're doing. And so there were a series of realizations that led to this breakthrough, which a lot of it honestly came back to this question that I was asking as I navigate coming back to more mastery of my material reality. I'm in a season I want to grow my capacity to hold more people in my business. I want to grow my capacity for leadership. I want to have more people on my team so that I can impact more people, and also that I can spend more time in my magic and less time doing administrative tasks and things that are not related to actually the mission. I am desiring to increase my level of financial mastery. I want to flow more wealth through my system and through my field, and I want to steward it even better. I want to expand into even more of the investment frequency. And so there is this, okay, I'm here, I'm awake, I'm conscious. Also, I'm coming back to more 3D mastery. And so, how do I navigate that? How do I integrate that? And this question, it's difficult to articulate, but that I was wrestling with is, okay, where do I stay in the highest state of spiritual divine truth? And you could even say idealism. And where do I need to drop to some degree to meet reality where it is? This is the question that I was asking. And if I'm totally honest, it was actually brought up because of love, because I feel like I was in this very pure place and I was hurt. And I internalized that, as we do. And as a response to that, my ego was like, oh, well, it's because you weren't playing enough of a game, or you weren't working enough with human psychology. You were too just pure and open and available. You needed to hook them a little bit more. You need to play a game. I think this thing has been running in the background that came from there. That's been then a lens that I've been filtering the world through. And so then asking, when it comes to business, it's like, to what degree do I stay in that state of highest spiritual truth and idealism? And to what point do I drop and meet the reality of what is, and address human behavior and human psychology, and kind of pull from these different things that I know? And I was in a conversation with this beautiful, amazing woman and friend who I'm so inspired by. And she's a huge business. She's moving tens of millions of dollars through her field. And she's doing it really embodying a lot of these qualities that I respect so much, really from this high place of consciousness of stewarding the people that are in her field and in her business, of really being conscious of the way her choices, what she says, her actions, where she directs her resources, the way she runs her business, the way that it impacts the world. And yeah, just choosing compassion and love, even when she's not met with that. And so I asked her to have this conversation, and we're chatting, and she's giving me feedback on what I'm saying and great advice, but it's not landing. And I was like, what is my question? Because sometimes there's something we're pondering and we haven't fully been able to articulate it. So I was like, what is my question? And that was the first time I was able to actually verbalize what it was. And I said, you know what it is? I'm asking this question of, where do I stay in this highest truth, spiritual idealism place, and where do I need to drop to meet reality? And the answer that she gave me was really in the context of relationships. And it was so stunning. But to summarize, the answer that I got is that you don't drop. And there's these moments that we hear this divine truth. And there might be a part of you that right now, tell us the answer, she said. And you know what? I don't think it will actually land in the context of this. So if you can listen, I'm going to transmit that code through the rest of this episode. So if you just say open to the receive that, I promise that you'll get it. But there are these moments that we have these realizations and we have these breakthroughs, because truth has a frequency to it. It has a resonance. And sometimes we're questioning, we find a truth and it's like dominoes all through your mind, and all these things reorganize, and you can see all these things for a higher perspective. And it's like, that's why that was happening. That's why that was happening. And this truth that we know. And in that moment, I had this experience, this reminder of this truth that I know, which is that we don't drop. We don't drop out of the highest octave, the highest expression of who we are, out of the frequencies of love, joy, peace, enlightenment, highest truth, highest prosperity, highest love, and highest good for all. We stay anchored up into that frequency and into that place and into that truth. And we allow that energy to be transmitted through us. We become a conduit for that energy and for that truth. And what it means on a practical level, a lot of the time, is that we can't reach for the old tools. We can't reach for the old ways of relating or the old ways of doing business. And this is a problem that I see a lot in the world. It's not a problem, it's an opportunity for change, but it's something I've observed. I've had mentors that are so love and consciousness and aligned to their purpose and their mission, and then something happens that's business related related, like a big problem that's business related, and they drop. And suddenly they're shaming people on the internet, or they're in victim consciousness, or they're doing really aggressive, borderline shady legal things, or things with money that are really not great, right? And so that's what's been modeled for us a lot. Yes, we can be in this highest spiritual truth, but then when it comes to navigating the 3D, we drop, we drop, we drop. And that's what a lot of people do. It's what a lot of people come into my world do. And it's taken me a long time to break out of this, because I found that there's not a lot of people modeling this really well. But there is an opportunity here for us to really stay plugged in to our highest truth, to our highest essence, to divine source, light of consciousness flowing through the fractal field, crystal of consciousness that we are, and transmitting it, radiating it out into our reality and through all the 3D structures around us, our relationship, our community, our business, our body. All of those things get to be enhanced and upgraded by that highest essence, by that highest truth. And it means that in a practical level and navigating the 3D, that we must find a new way. And those ways aren't always going to be easily available. Sometimes people ask me questions and I can tell they want this easy answer. I think when it comes to a lot of this stuff, there isn't an easy answer. If we are truly building a new paradigm and ushering it forward, then we must first embody that. And it means finding new ways to navigate things. It means that if you're committing to staying connected to highest love, highest truth, highest compassion, and then you have a conflict in your business and in your reality, if you reach for the old ways of setting boundaries or cutting people off in this really harsh way, it doesn't work. You're not staying plugged into that truth. There is no manipulation of the truth. It's the truth or it's not. And this is the realization that I came to, particularly in the context of relationships and business. And this is actually one of the things that she said to me, is that if I really believe all the things that I said, which is that I think that this person is great and yada, 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 then my job is not to do this severing, boundary setting, protect my energy thing, which is the advice that you'll get from so many people. That my job is actually to stay open, not in a way that makes me vulnerable and I'm disempowering myself. And I want you to really hear this through a high level of consciousness, but to stay open to that connection and not sever, and allow it to be a reflection point in my reality that helps me evolve into my highest self. Whether that person becomes a partner in the future, it's tertiary. It doesn't really matter, but it's the act of staying in relationship and not severing, which is, I think, for so many of us, the next octave, the next expression of relating. And I think a lot of the online personal development industry has got this wrong. We were so about being sovereign and being in our power and protecting our energy and these boundaries that we're severing. We're destroying community. And we're often blaming social media or the internet for that, but it's also the way that we're in relationship with ourselves and others. There's a severing that happens. You always got to look what's easier. It's easy to cut people off. It's easy to get mad. It takes more consciousness to stay in relationship when things aren't good. But ultimately, it leads to what we want: connection, to be loved, to be seen. And so this breakthrough that I had and I really want to share with you today, although this may relate to many aspects of your life, is specifically in the context of business. Because I've been asking myself, as I'm ready to grow, as I'm ready to build more, I'm like, okay, well, where do I go into strategies, or where do I go into tactics? And I suddenly had this realization so crystal clear that I don't. And that doesn't mean that I won't do things. It doesn't mean that I won't share this podcast episode or do PR and collabs and things. But the thing is, they all come from that connection to highest light. None of them come from manipulation. None of them come from manufactured success. None of them come from strategy. And that's what everybody is trying to feed us in the collective. There are these people that get connected to something, whether they have the spiritual aspect of it or not, doesn't matter. It's this creative essence, this creative channel. You hear it in the music industry, you hear it in artists, you hear it in people in all fields, honestly, if you really listen. This is one of my favorite things to study. And people are given a vision and they sort of channel it into their reality. They listen, they open, they receive, and they birth this thing into the world that has this frequency of truth and originality and innovation. And it's amazing. And it ripples through the field and it creates this wave of change. It often creates a lot of abundance and attention and power for that person. But then there are so many, for every original, there's probably 1,000 people trying to either copy them directly or tell other people how to copy them. And so we live in this space online of manufactured success. Everybody's looking at what someone else did and trying to reverse engineer the steps and teach it to them rather than looking at who were they? What was their relationship with their vision, their dream, their purpose work? And because the thing is, when you're in that conduit, when you're connected to pure source creative channel, your business, all of the pieces are simply an expression of that. They're the pipes that carry the liquid light of this divine expression into 3D reality and into the field. And it's so felt when we're in that truth and we're moving from that paradigm, from that place. It's like you put 1x energy in and you get 100x result. That's why I was able to grow my capacity to hold and lead and receive to multi 5 figures per month while I was sick and struggling and not really doing a lot of things because it was coming from this pure energetic place. And I often ask myself if there's this higher expanded part of me that is really here for my highest good and helping me, but that I don't have direct conscious contact with, why would I send this to myself? Why would I co-create this? And I truly, truly believe that the reason I sent this autoimmune, this sickness to myself was so that I could really learn to surrender because it got to this point where I was so physically under-resourced and unwell that I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do the marketing. I couldn't do the hustling. Before it was like, well, I believe in this spiritual truth, but then I feel like I've got to do all these things. I literally could not do it. All I could do was pray, was meditate, was connect to spirit, was move my energy, was be present to my beliefs, was listen to nature, to the universe, to spirit, to God. And it was in that time that my life changed so radically. And before that was anchored in, every time I would start to get better and I would start to go out of that and look to the 3D, to the world of distraction and start to be conditioned by these things that are like, oh, you've got to post every day. You've got to do something to manipulate the hologram to get a result. I would go out of that center and I would lose the magic and it would be reflected in my level of provision and prosperity. And so I truly believe that I sent that to myself as a gift so that I could anchor in that frequency. We want to learn through the path of validation where we make the right choice and where we're supported and we rise, but that's not always where we're at in our human. We know this very often. It's not until we're in pain. It's not until there's a new rock bottom or something that forces us to change. And so, as much as I would love to say, I found this and I was called to this and I did it, no, I was found this and I was called to this and I did it. And to fully embody it, I had to send myself this sickness. So I would strip everything else away. And we do this. The Greeks believed that we had a daimon, this spirit that was like an egg that wanted not what you want in your human, but wanted you to reach your potential, to do your purpose work. And you could say ascended or rised in consciousness and got closer to this purpose. It's like the egg hatched and this spirit would come alive. And the further along you are, the more the spirit would make a mess of your life and create hardship when you get off path. And whether you believe in the literalness of that or not, there's definitely a truth to that I see. The higher we go, the more alignment life demands of us. You'd think that it would be less, but it's not. It's the higher we go, there's a greater sensitivity to just misalignment, to manipulation, to not being fully in the embodiment of your soul's light and your truth. And I want to talk a little bit about this because I think a lot of people talk about this and it can seem abstract. And I think the modern new age space is beautiful in so many ways because we are rediscovering these things. We are rediscovering these spiritual truths. We're rediscovering the magic on a mass level, which is incredible. But I also find that a lot of these teachings, and it took me a long time to navigate through them, are incomplete, are distorted, And sometimes they're being taught in a way, or we're receiving them from a state of consciousness that it's not actually helpful to us, and it can even be hurtful. I think it's really important to understand what we're actually doing, what we're actually working with. And in a lot of Eastern traditions, there is this awareness of these two parts, the soul's light or the spirit and the human. And I think a lot of us, we get to a point where we have this awakening and we start being able to access that spiritual light, whether we relate to it as God, the universe, nature, all of the above, none of the above, as the one consciousness, whatever it is, we start to touch something higher with our consciousness, whether this comes through medicine journeys, whether it comes through the dissolving of ego, whether it comes to meditation and a Buddhist practice that allows us to have this dissolving of self into these bliss states. Any of the above, all of the above, doesn't matter. We start to be able to touch this thing. We experience this truth beyond the material world. We experience this essence beyond the human definition, the construct that we experience ourselves to be. And it's beautiful. It's divine. When you start to touch that, when you start to channel that, when you start to be in relationship with that, it will change your life because there's a truth to it that is beyond anything that you've known. But our work, and this is the maturity that so many of us are being invited to come to. The work isn't just about touching that light, because it's very easy to move into a place of escapism where we're trying to access the light. We're trying to raise our vibration. We're trying to live in these higher frequencies. That's part of it. You could even say, even though that's quite far along in the human journey, that that's the easier part of it. The work then is to also integrate the human vessel. The journey that we think of as healing is really a journey of integration. In our youth, through trauma and through these different life experiences we have, we learn that parts of us aren't worthy, that parts of us are bad, that parts of us aren't lovable, that parts of us are not enough. And so we fragment those pieces like soul shards in order to be what we think we need to be, in order to be lovable, in order to be worthy, in order to be accepted. And so our journey of healing is really a journey of integration. It's dissolving the guilt, the shame, the separation, the fear, which are like energetic wedges keeping the true divine human that we are in this fragmented state. We dissolve those energies. There's many paths of healing, whether it's psychological, through trauma work, through energy healing, through somatic work, or a combination of all the above. We're all a little bit different, but we dissolve these energies that are keeping us fragmented, and we bring the human back into one whole. And then our work is to expand the capacity of our human to be the vessel for our soul's light. Our work is not just to escape from our human up into the light. When we do that, we see this thing. It's like this spiritual schizophrenia. You've seen this in others. You've probably experienced it yourself. I've experienced it. I've been this. We all do this as we're in this process, but we're tuned into love and joy and compassion and this highest truth, this spiritual octave, you could say. And then when we get triggered, we drop. And we drop into the old ways. That's what I was talking about earlier, right? We drop into manipulation. We drop into shadow. Maybe we go into reactivity or defensiveness or whatever. And we see people sometimes, we see people that are so spiritual, they're almost virtue signaling, they're preaching of love or whatever. But then when actually push comes to shove, they can be very wounded and very dark. And we don't need to be in judgment of that. Any judgment that you might be witnessing in yourself right now of others or of yourself is actually one of those energetic wedges that I'm talking about that's keeping you from your full integration. Judgment lowers us in vibration. It moves us into a field of separation where we want to move into a field of unity. And so we do that. We can discern. Okay, this is an example of where these spiritual concepts get confused. People overly demonize the mind in the spiritual world, and then we lose discernment. We must keep discernment online. We can discern, we can discern and observe without judgment. Discernment without judgment is observation without emotional charge. So I can notice, oh, Michael's talking about this thing. I've seen that in here, or I've seen that in myself, but we don't need to judge it. We don't need to make it bad. We don't need to make it wrong. We don't need to cast shame at that thing. If we're doing that, it's a reflection of shame that still lives within us. And so our work is to simply observe, because the truth is consciousness is like a river. It flows through all of these places, and consciousness is evolving through us as us, just as our DNA is evolving through us as us. We tend to think about, because we sit in the I am presence of I am Michael, I am my body. And so we say my DNA like it's mine. But from the perspective of our DNA, it's this double helix that's weaving itself through time, through generations. Consciousness is the same. Consciousness is weaving itself and evolving through us as us. And so the river of consciousness flows to all of the different places that the river of consciousness can flow, all of the polarities, all of the vibrations, all of these little nooks and eddies of fear and pain and all these different things that we see on the planet. It is simply consciousness experiencing itself as us. And so when we look at that and we go, that's bad, that's wrong, we're actually creating fragmentation within ourselves and separation and lowering our vibrations. You can simply observe, oh, that's what that is. That's a place that the river of consciousness flows. I can witness that in others. I can witness it in myself. I can hold acceptance. I can actually maybe even send love and compassion and healing to them. I can hold the intention that everybody will find their way to a higher light and a higher truth. But I don't need to go and fix anything. I don't need to be in an observational relationship with my reality where I'm actually subtly creating suffering because I'm witnessing what I don't want to witness. I can simply observe. I can simply be. I can simply see the contrast of maybe I don't prefer in my reality as a reminder to be more of the vibration, the truth, the frequency of what I want. I can notice where I still do that, where I still drop, where I still go into defensiveness, where I still have protective mechanisms that are functions of disintegrated self parts. And I can dissolve those. I can love and accept these fragmented parts of myself. And I can do that in relationship to myself and in relationship to others. And I become more whole. And in that wholeness, I can practice holding more of my soul's light, holding more love, more peace, more joy, more enlightenment, and not from a place of escaping from anything, but from integrating and allowing me to really resource my human self as this vessel, because it's a lot of energy, the pure light of who you really are. We're like, oh, it's like this beautiful healing light, but it's very intense. There's a lot of energy. It's like electricity moving through a circuit. The circuit's got to be able to hold it. And so your physical vessel, your human vessel, we must upgrade and prepare and integrate that to a point that we can actually hold the voltage of our soul's light. That's the work. It's not just reaching up and touching higher states of consciousness, it's integrating and holding that light in your vessel. That is the real work. That is the deep work. And there's the internal part of that, the holding that within yourself. But then there's the external part of that, which is navigating your reality from that place, because your external reality is just a mirror of your internal reality. Law of correspondence, as above, so below, as within, so without. And so you can't be in a state where you are truly holding your soul's light in the vessel of your human form and having a business that still operates in the old paradigm of manipulation. The business is a reflection of the structure of you. Your business, your body, your relationships, your life is a reflection of the structure of your human. And so we must come to a point in our awakening where we take the responsibility and the stewardship to hold this energy, this highest light, this highest truth, not just in our human form, but in all of the 3D structures of our life, that our business is organized from a place of light and integrity and highest good for all, that it exists in a frequency of reciprocity and mutuality. And it's this win-win-win frequency where it's like someone comes into my business, it's a win for them, it's a win for me, and it's a win for the world. That's the frequency. The win for you, the win for me, the win for the world. It can't be that I'm extracting from them where I'm trying to get clients and get them into my program so I can get the money. That has an extractive frequency. It's the old paradigm. It also can't be a thing where I'm overgiving and people are hooking into me from a place of victim consciousness and asking me to be in a saver role, and I'm overgiving in a way that's depleting for me. That is also the old paradigm. We have to get to hold that in a frequency and in a structure that is expansive for all. They won the lottery coming in because they get me, they get connection to this transmission, to this truth. And it's not even really about me because I just lead them back to their own power and the resources within. It's a win for me because I'm nurtured by the money and the energy and the being seen and all of the beautiful things that come with that exchange in a way that expands me, it expands my field, it expands my life. And we're doing work of waking people up, of doing more good for the planet, more good for the world. People are creating ripples of good, ripples of love, ripples of joy, ripples of peace, ripples of prosperity. It's win, win, win. That is the frequency. That's the frequency of new paradigm business. And so our work is not simply to do this for ourselves, because even the idea that we can just do this for ourselves in our human and not align the 3D aspects of our life to this is in and of itself a distortion. Because in the highest truth, there is no separation. There is no us versus them. I had this amazing mentor who used to say, there's only one of us in the room. It's like in the highest truth, there's only this one vibrating field of consciousness, the one consciousness, God, pure source, light, whatever you want to call it, whatever your relationship with that is, it doesn't really matter. But there is this oneness, there is this interconnectedness of all things. And so in the highest truth, there can be no separation. The idea of separation from that embodiment of this highest light and the highest spiritual truth from your business and from these structures that you engage with is in and of itself a distortion. And so I really want to invite you into this place of I get to move from this place. I am willing and courageous enough to find a new way, to dream, to dare, even when it's uncomfortable. I have this beautiful woman in my inner circle right now, and I've been working with her for a while, and she really gets it. She was financially prosperous before, but she's gone from this survival energy and outsourcing her power and kind of rolling from one crisis to another to just living so embodied in her light and her truth and her joy. And she's in this place where she's created a lot of material abundance. And she's asking, what is abundance for her? And she's moving away from the old ways, the old strategic ways of doing business. She's moving away from a relationship that wasn't serving her and into a new relationship that feels aligned for her. And she's been getting so many pieces of advice from the collective of this is a bad idea. This isn't good. You have to be careful with this. Keep the clients so that you keep the money. What a terrible reason to move from. And it's so interesting because this is the thing. So much of the advice that's out there, so much of the common wisdom in the collective is based on fear, is based on protection, is based on avoiding the worst case scenario. And so it's funny, she comes to the calls and is like, this is where I'm at, and this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm feeling. Everybody else is advising me not to do that. And I see her and I really reflect back to her. I'm like, you choose. You choose from love. You choose from possibility. And we're not doing this in a naive way. You could be hurt in this. This could happen, but that does not define you. And it's not about whether this one decision leads to what we perceive to be success or failure. It's about the person that we're choosing to be. Am I the person that is living from fear, or am I the person that's living from possibility? And I want you to really hear this in a mature way, because I think sometimes we first come into this and there's this immature, like, oh, I'm just living from possibility and I'm ignoring reality. No, I'm embodying possibility in my reality. And we see this sometimes. We meet these people or our paths cross, and we see these people that are living in this way that is so different and doesn't seem real and is so lit up and is so beautiful and is so magnetic. And that is part of what creates this. It is a willingness not to drop, not to meet life where it is, not to reach for the old ways of protection or manipulation, no matter how subtle, to really stay connected to this highest truth and highest light. And it is so beautiful. It is the work that I do with the people who walk with me when they're ready. My inner circle is called Vase Lux. It's Latin. It means vessel of light, because that is your work, to become the vessel for your soul's light and share it with the world, not just as a concept, but as an embodied way where you align all of this 3D structures and your mastery in your life with that frequency, that true frequency of self, because the highest wealth that you actually have is the true essence of who you are. There's nothing in the world that you can have, that you can get, that you can create, even the perfect relationship, that is more valuable than the true essence, the true magic, the pure light of consciousness moving through you as you. The divine fractal that you are is the greatest wealth that you will ever know. And it is there in every now. First, we're not aware of it. Then we're aware of it and we can touch it sometimes. Then we can touch it consistently. But the real magic starts to happen when we are able to embody it, when we are able to shine that light through the vessel of our human into our life and into our reality. That is what raising your vibration really means. That is what living in the highest expression of yourself really means. And what I found is that there are not a lot of examples of this, but I am committed in my life to being the living example of this and sharing it with others in every way that I can. And so if this is resonant for you, I invite you to trust that resonance. I'm so grateful for your presence. I'm so grateful for you being here. I'm so grateful that we were able to have this conversation today. I'm so grateful for my beautiful friend Zoe for chatting with me and helping to unlock this morning, because I'll tell you, for me, I was in the mind. Just like I said earlier, I was in the mind, I was trying to figure it out. And I was like, there's these pieces, but I can feel I'm ready to take action in my business and do these things. But I was like, I'm doing it from the mind. I'm doing it from ego. And I'm aware enough not to move from that place, even though there's deadlines, even though there's pressure. There's pressure because I joined an accountability group and we're like holding each other accountable. But even in the face of that, I'm like, no, I won't move from this place. And it was in the reflecting on this and the meditating and the talking about this morning that I was able to again access that highest truth and that highest light and filter it through myself and into these structures. And the second it's there, it's like, there it is. And everything's clear. What to do next, what to say, where to go, how to move, how to encode this frequency into my business, into my reality, into the world. It is there. It's available. The doing is so easy. It's so obvious when it's moving from that embodied highest truth place. It's so easy. And that is available to every single one of us. I want you to really hear this, because I have conversations with people all the time that are kind of like, oh, that's not a nice idea, but I have these things in my reality. No, for every single person. I cannot begin to express the miracles that I have seen with people. The number of times that I've been with someone and it looks like life is closing in, there's no possibilities, there's all this scarcity, there's all these problems, and it just seems like the end of the road. And of course, in that state, our mind goes into survival. That's when we go back to what's familiar. We reach for the old tools. And so a lot of times I have to like really interrupt that. And people, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to connect to this higher truth. We're going to raise our vibration. And people do that. And suddenly there's opportunities everywhere. Everywhere. This was a while ago now. This is not so much what I work with anymore. But I remember there was this time and there was this woman in one of my spaces, and she was like, I don't have enough money to pay rent, and rent is due in a couple of days. And I was like, okay, but there's surely there's something. She's, there's nothing. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I was like, okay, well, and she wanted to, of course, she's in the mind, survival for you. She wants to go into strategy. And I was like, no, we forget about all of that. We need to get you back into your truth. And so we worked on bringing her back into that vibration, into being this conduit and embodiment for her soul's truth and light. And just like that, she was like, oh yeah, I forgot about this thing and I forgot about that thing. And there's this person that I haven't followed up with. And there's this money that I forgot was in this account was coming. And she found $50,000 that was there and available in the field that she was not a match for in that state. And that's how it is. You have to understand the field is this living fractal field of information with different possibilities. And as we attune ourselves, we align with different planes of reality and different possibilities. And I have a funny story that I'm going to tell you about this that I leave. And this is seems unrelated, but I really want you to hear the teaching in it because it's totally related. So I was at this Halloween party and I had this friend and he decided to dress up as Luigi. So he's dressed up in this great Luigi costume, like Mario and Luigi, the video game, if you don't know. And we're at this party and we're chatting and we say our initial highs. And he starts telling me all these Mario facts. And did you know that blah, 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 it was created in this time and the first game had these problems and they almost did it like this, but then at this last minute they changed and this is why they're plumbers. I can't remember the facts, but he was telling me all these Mario facts. And I said to him, I didn't realize you were such a Mario fan. And he said, I'm not actually at all. He said, I never even played video games when I was younger. But ever since I decided, hear that word, decided, ever since I decided to dress up as Luigi, people have been telling me Mario facts. And of course, because the moment he decided to dress up as Luigi, he was on the Mario frequency. And so all of this information that was always available in the collective and through his friends and all these different things suddenly became available because he made that decision. And sure, of course, he's probably in conversations and people were saying like, oh, what are you dressing up as, Luigi? Oh, did you know this? Yes, that on the material level is how that happens, but it's a vibrational reality first. It's a frequency first. And it happens through alignment and decision. And while this is a funny story about Mario facts, what's beautiful about it is that it's not charged. You're like, oh yeah, I could do something like that and receive facts about Mario or information. But it's the same with everything, with opportunities, with love, with money. They all exist in the field. And as we align our vibration and our frequency through decision, through our choices, and there's a whole process for this that I lead people through and then I talk about. But as we align, those things become available. And one thing we do have to understand, just since I'm teaching on this now, is there's also the law of gestation, which is a sub law of the law of gender, which is that seeds take time to grow, and we don't always know how long that takes. And so it's important that we are also able to hold this in the face of contrast and in the face of no evidence. Your current reality is a byproduct of who you've been being, not who you are in this now. So just remember that if this is cracking something for you and you feel inspired or excited to shift, we must hold that. Perpetual transmutation of energy, everything is energy, then thought, then matter in our material reality. And so we have to hold and align with that through all those layers and as something comes into manifestation. So sometimes we get a little bit defeated and we're not always great at holding disappointment. So just as a teachable moment with this, what I'm sharing, remember that. Because I think that a lot of people have touched this and worked with it, but not understood the full teachings. And so we drop it because we don't see what we want. And then we go back to observing reality. And then we go back to creating from a limited space. And then we have this belief that it doesn't work, whatever that means. And we get distracted. So don't let that happen. Don't let that be you. And ultimately, if we can get out of this transactional relationship with reality, this is why I don't talk about manifestation, even though people manifest incredible things in my world. Because if the reason we're doing the work is to get something, it's already more distorted than if it's simply because this is who I choose to be. This is who I choose to be because I have chosen to be the highest expression of who I am. I have chosen to be the highest love, the highest light, the highest truth, the highest prosperity, the highest good for all in the way that I live my life, in the way that I just move through the world, knowing that I'm human, knowing that I'm going to make mistakes, knowing that I'm going to be given opportunities to learn and grow through contrast. But I have made that choice because I have made that choice and for no other reason. When we get there, it's an even less dense plane of reality than when we're trying to do it in order to make something happen. And so there's a truth that when you live in this way and on this frequency, incredible things align and become available to you. But it's also true that if we bring transaction into that, that we distort it a little bit. So if you can make this choice because you make this choice rather than because you want to get something, my belief is that it will serve you to such an incredible degree in the long run. So this has been beautiful, amazing conversation. I'm so grateful for you. If you want to do this work with me, I encourage you to reach out or check out Vaz Lux. We can have an alignment call and chat about what that would look like. But either way, I'm so grateful for your presence. I invite you also to check out our lunar activations on the full moon and the new moon. I always do a free ceremony online. They are amazing. So many big shifts and choice points that have been navigated beautifully in my life have come as a byproduct and a result of the energy in these activations. So I definitely invite you to check that out. And as always, my name is Michael Edwards. I'm sending you so much love and bye for now.